Hello, friends. Tomorrow is Super Bowl Sunday, as Super Bowl 55 is upon us from Raymond James Stadium in Florida. It's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I would think, for the first time on YouTube, I will make my Super Bowl prediction for this year's big game. Now, if you know who my dad is, then you know that he's uploaded a fair share of his Super Bowl predictions in the past couple of years as well. He started with Super Bowl 48 back in 2014, actually, and he predicted the Denver Broncos to win over the Seattle Seahawks, and when he eventually wakes from his slumber, I'll have to remind him of that because we all know how Super Bowl 48 went. So I've made these predictions with him before. Now, there's some of the videos that are on his channel of the predictions that we did. Now, we did some playoff predictions, we did some record predictions. I had been doing that since around 2015 or 2016, and we didn't get to do one this year, but it was sort of a childhood memory of mine to sit down on the couch at the old house and record a video for 30, 40 minutes and talk about the NFL season. Even though I wasn't that big of a football fan at the time, and even though I still like baseball and motorsports, I still consider football to be a close second or third sport that I still like to enjoy. So I tried making a prediction last year, and I did through sports writing. I actually signed up for a contest through a website where I had made a Super Bowl prediction, and the best story or the best article that somebody had written, they would win $250. Now, that site I was supposed to actually be the head writer for, but unfortunately it was terrible timing because by the time the Super Bowl came around, COVID-19 cases were starting to get on the rise, and just a month later, it would be declared a pandemic by the CDC, and not too long after that, every single sport known to man would shut down, and we would go in the pandemic that we are still living in on February 6, 2021. So that was that, and I never really got to write an article for them besides that Super Bowl article, but that was the first time I had made a formalized Super Bowl prediction on my own, and I was actually incorrect about that. I had predicted the San Francisco 49ers would beat the Kansas City Chiefs by about 7 or 8 points. I had thought that Raheem Mostert, who was the running back for the 49ers at the time, I thought he would be a lot bigger factor because he was great in the NFC Championship game of that year after the starting man got injured. So he came in, had like 4 touchdowns, he was incredibly good, and he ended up not getting much playing time at all in the Super Bowl 54. So I was incorrect, but it doesn't matter if a prediction is correct or incorrect when it comes to sports writing, because it's a prediction. It's before something has happened. It's not predetermined. It's on the spot. So you can't judge a prediction based off of if it's right or wrong. You can judge it based off of how insightful it is and how how you present yourself. But he made his first Super Bowl prediction back in Super Bowl 48 for YouTube, and he'd been doing that for years through his former podcast, The Crazy Tom Show. I think that's what it's called. But, you know, last year I did my prediction through a 1,100 word report that took a few pages up, and it's hard to decipher intent through a piece of text because you can't see the writer's emotion. You can't see the writer's real, opinions. You can't see their opinions really shine through text unless you put it in all caps or something like that or something egregious. So this year I thought I would start a tradition of my own where I would do my predictions on video in my own bedroom from my studio. You can see if I turn my camera around here. It's about 11 a.m. and I have my... Oh, there goes the camera. All right, there we go. In any case, let's get started with our Super Bowl 55 predictions. So, obviously this year, Kansas City Chiefs and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do I think about the fact that this is a battle between a young QB and a very old and resilient QB? Tom Brady is 42, 43 years old. What I think is that Tom Brady, if he wants to win this Super Bowl and get his 7th ring, if he wants to be successful in this Super Bowl, he has to outsmart the Chiefs' defense, because the Chiefs' defense really knows what they're doing. When it came to the Super Bowl matchup in Super Bowl 54, it was between the Chiefs and the 49ers, and the 49ers had a decent defense, but the Chiefs had a leg up on them, and this year, the roles are reversed. Because the Buccaneers have a okay defense. You know, their defense is decent. Not great, but not terrible. It's sort of like, you know, a lot of the NFC. The NFC had some problems with having their defense stay stabilized. Just like my home team, the Eagles, we had issues with our secondary and stuff like that. And, we're not alone in that problem. The Cowboys had some problems with their secondary as well. A lot of NFC teams did. But the Buccaneers, when it comes to the Chiefs, they sort of are in second place when it comes to the Chiefs on that defense. On the offense, it's a lot more of a level-headed game because you have a young QB of Patrick Mahomes, then you have an older QB of Tom Brady, probably a first ballot Hall of Famer, if not one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. You have to put that into consideration. We are dealing with Tom Brady here. When Patrick Mahomes was squared up in Super Bowl 54, he was not matched up against Tom Brady. He was matched up against Jimmy Garoppolo. And Jimmy Garoppolo is probably going to be remembered as, yeah, he's a great quarterback. He had talent. He played while he could. But he's not going to be remembered as a Hall of Famer. I do not think that Jimmy Garoppolo, when he retires, I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Now, don't get me wrong. He's too young for me to officially say, oh, he's not going to be a Hall of Famer. Because he could do a Kurt Warner and have an absolute insane run in the later half of his career and end up becoming, somebody who ends up on the ballot at Canton. But there's no guarantee of that. There's no guarantee that he even comes close to that. He could be, if you think of quarterbacks in the Super Bowl who maybe aren't remembered that much now. Remember, Trent Dillard was in the Super Bowl about 20 years ago, and is he remembered much now? No, not at all. So just put that into consideration. But with that being said, Patrick Mahomes is at risk of suffering from the Russell Wilson effect. Now, if you've not heard of the Russell Wilson effect, I don't blame you because I just came up with it on the spot. But I did see it on some social media platforms, and I did want to discuss that for a quick second. Here's the comparison between Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes. In the first year as a starter for Russell Wilson, Wilson lost in the playoffs as a Seahawk. In the second year, he won a Super Bowl. In the third year, he lost in the Super Bowl to Tom Brady. So here's the thing with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes right now. In his first year as a starter, he lost in the playoffs. In his second year as a starter, he won a Super Bowl. In the third year, he's in the Super Bowl versus Tom Brady. So the stars are aligning in just the right form to say, okay, well, if you want to take that for real, then maybe that means that Brady will beat Mahomes and win the Super Bowl. But you can't go based off of a prediction like that, based off of the fact that another QB lost to Brady. It's just ironic that it's lining up in the right way so that everybody's sort of saying, okay, this could happen, but there's no guarantee. Another thing that you have to consider is that this is going to be the first ever Super Bowl to be held in the home team's stadium, at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. This almost happened a few years ago. The Minnesota Vikings made it to the NFC Championship and lost to the Eagles in blowout fashion, and that's how the Eagles made it to US Bank Stadium in Minnesota and then won the Super Bowl over New England. So take that into consideration. There's going to be a lot of Buccaneers fans there, I'm telling you. Because, trust me, if the Super Bowl was in, Texas or Arizona or California, there wouldn't be that many Buccaneers fans there. There probably wouldn't be any fans if it was hosted in California, but just keep that in mind. The fact that it's being held in the home team stadium, I think, gives the Buccaneers an advantage. Now, you might have seen that the Buccaneers did release a press statement a few days ago, I think it was about last week, that they will not be firing off the traditional cannons at Raymond James prior to the start of the game. Now, you might see that as a way of, they're trying to keep the game neutral and they're trying to not give one team an advantage. But if you're the Buccaneers, why would you not want an advantage? Why would you not want to put yourself in the best position to win? Because it's your team, it's your stadium, you basically get to do what you want because the ball is in your court. But here's the thing. I do not think that this was a team-led decision by Tampa Bay. Now, call me a radical conspiracy theorist all you want, but I do not think that the Buccaneers were the ones that really said at the end of the day, okay, we're not going to be firing the cannons. Because who in their right mind wouldn't fire the cannons if you're the Buccaneers? Who wouldn't fire the cannons? If it's your home team, it's at your own stadium, who wouldn't? So where am I getting with this? I'm saying that it is very possible that the NFL might have directed them to not fire the cannons or do anything to make the game anything other than a neutral site game. Because that's how the Super Bowl has always been. The Super Bowl has always been a neutral site game. It hasn't given any team an advantage based off of where they're playing, because that's how the Super Bowl is designed. And they're the only sport to really do that besides maybe March Madness. But even then, March Madness is usually somewhere close to the to one of the teams that's playing there, so you get a little bit of an extra lopsided fan base. But besides that, you're playing in Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay is one of the teams that'll be playing there. Imagine if that happened in Minnesota in 2017, before COVID-19, before the pandemic. That would mean a whole lot different, because the stadium will be sold out. Maybe there will be a lot more Vikings fans there, and maybe the game would have gone the Vikings' way. Maybe the Vikings would have won that Super Bowl if they were playing in their home stadium. Because let's be honest, it gives that team an advantage. It does. And I can't blame the NFL for kind of having a panic attack and being like, oh, the team is playing at their home stadium for the Super Bowl. What do we do? I don't like the fact that the NFL is giving the Tampa Bay, or from my opinion, I think they're giving Tampa Bay a bit of the short end of the stick and basically saying, okay, you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to keep it as neutral as possible. It's their stadium. Let them do what they want. If they want to celebrate their team's heritage and their history, let them do that. But don't try to shun them for doing a team tradition because it's their stadium. If the Buccaneers were not playing in their stadium, they would probably fire off the cannons. If the Packers were playing there, if the Packers beat the Buccaneers in the NFC Championship, they probably would have been firing the cannons just like nothing. But because the Buccaneers are there, you're essentially you're pointing that advantage away from yourselves and giving it to the other team. Because at the end of the day, it's not that neutral. It's not that neutral. Because regardless of what you do to not fire off the cannons or not to do this, that, and the other thing to give your team a levy, then it's still not neutral, because you're still playing in your home stadium. And you can't just switch a Super Bowl like that. But the World Series is not neutral site. The March Madness, the NBA Finals, that's not neutral site. And Stanley Cup Finals, that's not a neutral site. The Super Bowl is the only game in the four major sports, the only championship game in the four major sports that is at a neutral site. The only thing that I can even think of for other sports is the All-Star Game, because the All-Star Game is held at a neutral site, but even then, that's not two teams playing against each other. That's a hodgepodge of different teams playing against each other. But regardless, rant over about Raymond James Stadium. The two quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes is a lot more of a versatile quarterback. He knows how to run the ball. He knows how to throw the ball a lot. Just like he knows how to throw it sidearm. And I know I'm using my right hand here, even though I'm a lefty thrower. But it's just incredible to me how versatile Patrick Mahomes is. Now, as he gets older as a quarterback, that'll probably fade. Look at Michael Vick. He was a insanely mobile quarterback. He knew how to run the ball insanely well. He could do 50-yard rushing touchdowns if he wanted to when he was in his early 20s and mid-20s. But he's now older, and during the later playing days of his career, he wasn't as mobile. He wasn't as fast. He had to rely on passing the ball more or becoming more of a handoff quarterback where he would just send the ball to his running back. So that's what I think is going to happen to all the mobile quarterbacks, because there's so many of them in this game now. Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, even the Eagles' new backup quarterback, Jalen Hurts. He's a mobile quarterback. There are so many in the game that in about 5 to 10 years, a lot of them are going to just go poof, and they're going to snap into regular old quarterbacks who don't run the ball 50, 60 yards every time. So Mahomes is a quarterback that's mobile for now, but it's not going to last incredibly long. No quarterback at 38 years old is running insanely well like Mahomes does. And that applies to any sport that involves running. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's just how it is. And we've seen that with Tom Brady, too. Tom Brady has never been a mobile quarterback. He is a passing quarterback who loves to throw the ball regardless of what he's got, and it puts the ball in his court really well, and he throws the ball incredibly well, and that's why he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Regardless of what you think that Brady is character-wise, you know, I've heard people in my circle say, well, I don't like Tom Brady because he's a bad person. He's a bad character. The character doesn't matter when you're on the field. It's the talent and the passion of the player. That's why I don't like Allen Iverson much, because he didn't have that passion. He didn't have that strive. He felt entitled to play. He didn't feel the need to practice with his own team. He didn't feel the need to put 110% in every single day. Brady does that. So does Mahomes. They both have incredible passion for the game. They both have incredible passion for football. But when you look at Tom Brady off the field, yeah, he's made some questionable decisions, but so have so many other players that just get overlooked. Like Josh Gordon has been suspended like 4 times for PED stuff and marijuana violations. But he's still getting NFL spots. He's still, he was on the Seahawks for a little while. Same with Josh Norman. He was being suspended for a while back to back, and now he's still got an NFL spot. So when you're really thinking about it, what their character is and what they do off the field, or even on the field, their passion is what matters, and it's not their character, really. And you could also say the same thing about Andy Reid, the Chiefs head coach. Yeah, he's made some questionable decisions as well. He, put football over family, and that was really controversial. But what he does as a head coach is different than what he does off the field, because it's a different mindset. That mindset off the field is way different than the mindset on the field. That's why people were like, oh, well, I don't like Andy Reid as a person or as a head coach. Then explain why he won the Super Bowl last year and also brought the Eagles to multiple NFC championships and even got them to a Super Bowl appearance. And even though they lost that Super Bowl appearance that they got in the mid-2000s, they still were able to get there. And that's what 30 other NFL teams can't do. So, there you go. But when it comes to head coaches, I do think that Andy Reid has a bit of a leg up on Bruce Arians, because Arians has been the head coach for Tampa Bay for a little while, and he's had a rocky start there. He didn't do too good without Brady, and now he's doing good with Brady. And I think this proves a lot about this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team as a whole, because they weren't doing incredibly good with Jameis Winston as their quarterback. And once they got rid of Winston, they set him off to the side, they put in Brady, and they started doing well. It proves that Tom Brady does not need to leech off of Bill Belichick to be successful. It proves that Tom Brady can work with another head coach, another coaching tree, and be successful. Because if Brady didn't do good in a Buccaneers uniform, then it would have probably proven that, oh, Bill Belichick helped him all the way and he can't succeed in another head coach with another team. But he's proven that he doesn't need Bill Belichick to be successful, because he's working with a completely different coaching tree this year. He's got Bruce Arians. He's got a completely different staff. And he's doing just fine, and they're in a Super Bowl. But here's the thing about the Buccaneers, besides their head coaches. Their team is not exactly a spring chicken. They have Rob Gronkowski, who's getting up there. He already retired once. He's doing the Brett Favre, where he's retiring, unretiring, retiring again. And Antonio Brown, even though he's not that old for a receiver, he's also got that character problem that I talked about, and that passion problem. Because Antonio Brown's just an idiot, but that's besides the point. The receiving core is not that young. Even Mike Evans is a longtime veteran. So that's something that you have to consider, is that their wide receiving core, they might have to rely on the rushing game a little bit more than what they've had before, considering how dominant the Chiefs' wide receiving core is with guys like Tyreek Hill and even tight end Travis Kelce. They might have to rely on Leonard Fournette a little bit more. They might have to use some of their second-string guys as the running back. So does that mean that I think that the Chiefs are going to pass more and the Buccaneers are going to run more? Yes. Do I think that Tom Brady's going to throw the ball a lot? Yes. But do I think that not Raheem Mostert, that's last year. Do I think that the running back for Tampa Bay, Leonard Fournette, do I think he's going to get a lot of playing time? Absolutely. I think that he's going to get at least 100 rushing yards. That'll be my take. But with a prediction comes the final score. And with a final score comes the opportunity for the margin of error. So what do I think is going to happen in Super Bowl 55? Last year I was incorrect, and I had said that the San Francisco 49ers would beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But I was incorrect to not count out the Chiefs. I counted out the Chiefs last year because I didn't think the Mahomes would win it against Garoppolo, and I thought that the running game would be a lot more dominant. But I did admit that it would be a close game. This year, I think it'll be the exact same. Now, do I think that it'll be an absolute, insanely high-scoring game? No. Because I think with Patrick Mahomes facing a Buccaneers defense and Tom Brady facing a Chiefs defense, I think the score is going to level out. My final prediction for Super Bowl 55 will be Kansas City Chiefs 24, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 17. That's what I have. The reason why is I believe that Patrick Mahomes will be able to best out Brady, and he'll be able to get his second Super Bowl ring in a row. If I'm wrong, then I'm 0 for 2. If I'm right, then I'm 1 and 1. But we'll have to wait until Sunday, see what happens. But with that being said, there's my Super Bowl prediction. I know I took a little while to get there, but hopefully now you get my point where I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs will repeat as Super Bowl champions in 2021 and in Super Bowl 55. Can't talk today. Like I said, I will link some of the videos that my dad and I made back 5-6 years ago in the description so that you can check out our NFL predictions and see if we were right and see if we were wrong. I'm eventually going to make a video here on YouTube talking about what predictions I did get right and what predictions I did get wrong. So that'll be something that I will revisit. But everybody stay safe, have a great Super Bowl Sunday, and don't party too much, guys. All right, see ya.